I don't think there's been a Sony camera which needed a comeback quite as much as this one. The Alpha 1 is back with a Mark II. Now, the 1 was always meant to be the ultimate flagship. Best of both worlds, speed and resolution in the same body. And sure enough, back in 2021, it was a phenomenal camera. Then the Alpha 9 Mark III of course came along, and the Alpha 1 suddenly seemed a little less flagshipy. The 9 Mark III had only about half the resolution of the Alpha 1, but because of the sheer speed of that camera, the global shutter, plus some game-breaking capabilities like Precapture, it definitely overshadowed the original Alpha 1. The Mark II now still holds its position when it comes to speed and resolution, but in terms of features, it's certainly one-upping everything else as the flagship Alpha. Hardware-wise, it's also an entirely different camera coming from the Mark I, so today we'll be going over 13 upgrades on the Alpha 1 Mark II. First upgrade is a massive one, and that's Precapture. It's only one of the most coveted features on the A9 III, and now it's on the Alpha 1 Mark II. When you half press the shutter, the camera begins continuously recording images to its buffer, and when you press the button fully down, not only will it continue bursting new images, it saves those images which were buffered before you even triggered the shutter. On the A1 Mark II, Precapture won't be available in mechanical shutter mode, so you've got to leave it in auto or electronic shutter mode if you wish to use Precapture. It can Precapture up to 1 second in advance at speeds of up to 30 photos per second. Yes, the Alpha 9 Mark III can do this at 120 photos per second, but this can Precapture at 50 megapixels. Next is an update to autofocus. The Alpha 1 Mark II now gets the AI processing unit, which we first saw on the 7R Mark V. This gives it the more advanced subject recognition capabilities, which were not on the original A1. That subject recognition autofocus will also work in video, and that includes 8K. For video, you can also now import custom user LUTs to the A1 Mark II and use them either as monitoring LUTs or picture profile LUTs. The A1 Mark II gets auto-framing, but also a variant of it which is completely new called Framing Stabilizer. It essentially crops your frame in heavily, then moves the entire frame around to keep the subject you're tracking in the same region of your frame, even if you wiggle the camera around a bit. This also gets the dynamic active option for steady shot, which is a more cropped in, more stabilized version of active mode. Despite the A1 Mark II not having a new sensor, the stabilization of it has been improved. The IBIS is now claimed to provide 8.5 stops of stabilization in the center and 7 stops at the periphery. This is up from 5.5 stops from the original Alpha 1. The screen on the back is the 7R Mark V style 4-axis LCD, which can both tilt and flip. In fact, in terms of hardware, I'm pretty sure this shows the exact same chassis as the Alpha 9 Mark III. It's slightly wider and thicker than the old Alpha 1, but you do get a very big and substantial grip. Same control layout as the Alpha 9 Mark III, which means various improvements up from the Alpha 1, like the hybrid mode toggle similar to the one on the 7 Mark IV. EV dial is now a secondary rear dial, and now there's an asterisk position on the physical dial, just like on the Alpha 9 Mark III. This position lets you change the drive mode in the on-screen menus, just like on models which do not have a physical drive dial. When using it this way, you can also selectively disable drive modes, which you don't use, from showing up in the software menus. And in case you're wondering, the only way to change drive modes on the original Alpha 1 is exclusively through the physical dial. The Alpha 1 Mark II also gets the C5 button tucked right by the grip side of the lens mount, which by default is mapped to the continuous shooting speed boost function, which lets you shoot at a lower burst rate, but temporarily boosting it to a higher FPS when you hold down C5. This is again something adopted from the A9 Mark III, and it lets you be a bit more efficient with storage by shooting high FPS bursts only when you really need that full speed. On the A1 Mark II, the boost speed can be user-defined up to 30 FPS. Number 10 is an exciting accessory. The Alpha 1 Mark II ships with a dual bay charger for the FZ100 batteries. This is the exact BC ZD1 dual charger, which was released a month ago. But before we get too excited, the camera only ships with one battery in the box despite the dual charger. Still, this is $120 if you were to get it separately, though this is not the only bonus accessory you get. Flagship perks. The Alpha 1 Mark II ships with an alternate eye cup for the EVF, which is a deeper variant, so it blocks out more ambient light, and because it protrudes more, your nose won't rub against the LCD screen as much. The Ethernet port on the Alpha 1 Mark II also gets upgraded to support faster transfer speeds up to 2.5 gigabits per second. And finally, the A1 Mark II gets user customizable autofocus zone boxes, just like the Alpha 9 Mark III. So there's 13 upgrades on the Alpha 1 Mark II coming from the original. There are still a handful more of some minor feature updates, which you'll find on the Mark II, though I'm not able to dive deep into that because my time with the camera this round is actually extremely limited. As a result, I haven't really been able to shoot much with this either. That being said, image quality is not the main star of this Mark II update. It's more of all the features around it, like Precapture, which can actually make a difference between getting the shot or completely missing it. This now has a feature set updated to the very best Sony has to offer. So between this and the Alpha 9 Mark III, this still is that one offering which carries both speed and resolution, while the 9 Mark III sort of coexists alongside this for those who need even more speed but are willing to trade some resolution for it. Either way, it's been an incredibly star-studded day of announcements from Sony because, in case you have not heard, they have also dropped a G Master 28-70 f2 zoom lens along with this camera.